Hello, everyone. We're having a bit of a pep talk. That's an American phrase. A pep talk is a talk that motivates people. One of the major points we learned is from Nurhan's experience. What if you don't have anything to say? Name what painting would you put in on your wall if you had one? Well, some of you might not know any of these paintings. Some of you might not remember any books when you're nervous. You might not remember your holiday. Where did you go last month, or your last holiday? Tell about your favorite holiday. Maybe you get nervous, you don't remember. Here is the same strategy. First of all, breathe. You got to breathe. Breathe brings air to the oxygen to the head. And the other thing, you say, okay, I can't think of a book. I can't think of a painting, nor can I think of a holiday. So guess what? I'm going to think about something similar. All right, I haven't read a book. Have I read anything? I read the news right here every morning. So I know he's not going to be impressed, but it doesn't matter. He's not going to downgrade. Except I'm going to say, okay, I'm actually going to talk about a website I use every day to read the news. It's not a book, but with my hectic lifestyle, I'm not reading so much, but I do read the news. Let's say you don't know any art. Now you've got 1 minute to prepare. I don't know anything about art. So, do I have any friends who do art? Have I seen anything on Instagram or social media art that I like? Yeah, I know. There's a guy. Now I'm talking to myself during the 1 minute. There's a guy I've seen a few times on Instagram videos where he goes on the beach and he does this big painting from the sand, and then the drone looks at it over. I'm going to talk about that because I love it. That's art. So he's going to say, are you ready to get started? Yeah. Okay. The art that I truly love is a type of art that unfortunately I can't put on the wall, but I'd still like to talk about it. What about, okay, books, holiday? Let's say you freeze up. I don't know. What about any holiday? Have I been on any holiday? He's not going to know if it's my last holiday. My last holiday was with my parents in Disneyland. Now, I know what you're thinking. I look too old to go with my parents to Disneyland, but we loved it. And I want to talk about the three best features of Disneyland. I want to practice it right now. We're going to practice it right now in the group. I'm going to give you a topic. And I want you to think, but I want you to think out loud. Maybe some of you haven't visited a museum recently. This would be a difficult question. Let us read your mind. What are you thinking as you look at this and make a plan?
Okay. So I haven't visited a museum.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about a place that is like a history place, maybe in my country. I don't know if you know about Baalbek castles.
This is a
And
type of museum. This is a cultural heritage. These are great words, by the way, for the IELTS. I'm going to talk about Baalbek Castle, which is not a traditional or standard museum in the sense that you don't see lots of tourists thronging through the doors, but it is a cultural centerpiece for our country. I'm from Lebanon. What you've done is perfect. Nurhan very calmly said, okay, no museum, but quickly went to something like a museum. Now, we're going to talk today about part 3, discussion. You and I, individually, while the others are listening and taking notes and learning, we're going to have a two-way discussion. We're going to discuss abstract ideas, expressing opinions, extending answers, providing examples. This is the most academic part of the speaking. The first one is, meeting your neighbor. Part 2 is getting into somewhat of an interesting discussion with that neighbor. And then part 3 is something you'd find in the university. So they want to make sure you succeed at all levels of society when you move to England. You and I will probably have a 4-minute talk each. And then we're going to talk about what you did well and what you didn't. Now, what's the benefit of doing this in a group setting is you get to learn from other people's mistakes and also what they did well. We're going to discuss issues related to part 2. So part 2 and part 3 are on the same topic. That was one of our discussions last week. Now, part 3 is just a furtherance of that discussion in a more elevated manner. Where you've talked about one instance of advertising influencing what you bought, in this case, a bracelet, a beautiful bracelet. Do you think advertisements have that sort of influence on society as a whole, or the city or country you live in?
Yes, I think. I think that advertisement influences the society in my city. It influences our brains, especially if you are a teenager. Advertisement is a great power.
Let's talk about the values in advertising. Do you think that advertising should promote values when they're selling a product, or not? What role do
No,
they?
advertisement should sell the product. They don't care about values. The main idea is to sell something.
Okay. So we can sell things like alcohol or any sort of anything can be sold.
From the point of view of people who make advertisement, they can show any advertisement that help to sell their product. But if you talk from the government, from the all the society, of course, government should запрещать, restrict or
Good.
this
Monitor,
kind of
control. Mhm.
take control of advertisement.
Do you think that the government has more of an obligation to control what is being advertised, or is that the parents' responsibility?
I think both of them are responsible for this. Government should control it on high level, and parents should control their children. Of course, they should control children, not only on advertisement, on everything.
I want to talk a little bit about Anastasia's speech, but everyone can benefit from this. I asked Anastasia about how much of an influence does advertising have in your society or your city? And she answered without giving me her city. I had no idea what city she was talking about because she didn't tell me. First of all, we have to be more detailed when we answer questions. So I gave her an either or option. I said society or city, and she answered it. She said the society in the city, which actually didn't make much sense. So you either talk about society, which is more general, or you talk about your city. Now, they're probably not going to give you options like this. I did, and I probably won't do it again because that's not what they're going to ask. But you want to be very faithful to the question that's being asked. So if I'm asked about the influence of people in my country, I'd say, well, in the United States, or I'm in Italy. In Italy, they have severe restrictions on certain types of products. And I'll talk about it in a very specific manner. I think that also makes it more interesting. There are two big issues with Anastasia I want to talk about. One thing is she said something in her own language. Did everyone catch that? She spoke and she said something in her own language, obviously to try to trigger what the English is. In general, it's not a good idea to say anything in your own language during the talk. It should only be English. Now, if you need to wait. Now, what the problem is that she was looking for a word, a specific word. It's not that important. One word isn't going to make or break your exam. So what she was trying to do is say control. Give an easier synonym or describe it. Governments should monitor, should check what young people are watching, what young people are seeing on the television. You can explain it without using that key word that you love. Don't fall in love with any word. There's no word worth falling in love with. Immediately leave it. Okay, so government should monitor. They should, maybe you don't know monitor. Oh my God, government should, okay, they should watch or observe what the teenagers or what the young people are, consuming, what the advertisers are showing. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the use of general words. Now, I told you just now, if you can't think of a word, then make a more general synonym, an easier synonym, or describe it. Describing is not a bad strategy. I do it all the time when I'm lecturing. I can't think of it, I just describe it. So government should control it on a high level. Okay, I think I know what a high level means, but it's not great. It's not a great conversation because I'm eventually going to have to ask her, what do you mean by a high level? And what she means is on a societal level. So they should control, on a government, the government should control what, on a national level. High level, I think, honestly, can mean a lot of things. So it's not great. So we have to be a little bit careful with the phrases we use. Don't use foreign language, don't use foreign words. Answer very directly the question. Talk about the city. If they mention the city, my city of. Try to avoid very, very general phrases that don't mean much.